I suppose we'll get started, unless told otherwise by the session organizers. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Castelline Tillis, and I am the research manager at SDSN TReNDS. That's the Sustainable Development Solutions Network's thematic research network on data and statistics. And I'm delighted to be here with you all today to moderate this session on data innovations and multi-stakeholder collaborations for smart cities, case studies from across the globe. We at SDSN TReNDS are co-organizing this event with Zhejiang University, and we have asked our speakers to contribute their smart city case studies in a pre-recorded format. So as far as the agenda for our session, as the moderator, I'm going to briefly set the stage, introduce our speakers. We will share the pre-recorded case studies and open up the discussion for Q&A towards the end. And we hope that this session will shed light on the promise of data use for more effective smart city governance. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'll ask what might seem like an obvious question to begin our session. Why focus on data innovations at the city level? So as you all know, our planet is rapidly urbanizing. Almost all growth of the human population this century will be accounted for by a growing number of city dwellers. And our interest as a thematic research network on data and statistics is how can data be used to make cities safe, resilient, and sustainable, given that, again, cities will be where we as people live. How can we use data to inform more effective decision-making to make cities safer places for us to live? So towards this end, we'll feature various data innovations at the city level from across the globe. And we have asked our speakers to weigh in on how they collect data for their specific smart city initiatives and how they have used this data to inform decision-making. And we'll go beyond the data and technology to discuss critical partnerships that were needed to get these initiatives off the ground. And our case studies vary in the various domains that they cover, from using data to address transportation challenges to a host of other challenges at the city level. And at the end of the session, the insights will be useful to city and national government officials looking to establish similar data innovations in their corner of the world. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and briefly introduce our speakers. We have 4 speakers today who will share various case studies. I'll start off with Dr. Weiwen Zhang. She is a professor and vice dean of the School of Public Affairs at Zhejiang University, and she also serves as the director of the Joint Lab on Data Intelligence and Urban Futures. So she'll be our first speaker. Next in line, we have Dr. Jinseng Tang. He's the director of innovation of the Innovation and Research Institute at China Mobile Communications Group, Zhejiang Company. And he has over 20 years of experience in telecommunications and expertise in big data applications and technology. So he'll talk about a partnership that was launched between the China Mobile Communications Group and Zhejiang University. Third, we'll have Dr. Sandile Mbata, the Senior Manager of Data Research and Policy from eThekwini Municipality in South Africa. And he brings to this role research and data strategic experience with a focus on using data to catalyze decision-making and policy formulation at the city level. And last but not least, we have Alam Al-Rusan. She is the director of IT at the Jordan Department of Statistics. And she has held various technical and management roles during her 18 years tenure at the Department of Statistics. And so we'll go ahead and turn it over to the session organizers, and we'll have our speakers share their data innovations from their corner of the world. They'll cover both how they collected the data, how the data was used for decision making, share best practices and or challenges encountered, and touch a bit on the data and collaborations component. So what types of partnerships were needed to get these data innovations launched and successfully implemented. Just give us one moment. We should be playing the pre-recorded video shortly.
Good morning. It's my great honor to participate in this session of World Data Forum as both co-organizer and a panelist. My name is Zhang Weiwen, and I am the Vice Dean of the School of Public Affairs of Zhejiang University. I'm also the Executive Dean of China Institute of Urbanization. My research interests include people-oriented urbanization and data-driven urban governance. Today, I would like to tell you a story about the data intelligence and urban future lab that we have set up in collaboration with Dr. Tang, another panelist, and his team from China Mobile. The establishment of the lab is based on a mutually beneficial concept. As an academic institution, our research is confronting the opportunities and the challenges brought by digital reform. Meanwhile, for enterprises, the effective industry application of research results is a key. As our foremost partner of smart city data initiatives, China Mobile Zhejiang provides sufficient and reliable data that matches our research field. Today, a large number of people carry mobile phones with them all the time, which enables mobile phone signaling data to check human activities. And it has the advantages of high accessibility, large volume, real-time updating, and objectivity. China Mobile possesses high market share comparing to its counterparts, therefore becomes an ideal partner for us. We built trust through more than 2 years of cooperation and finally obtained approval from both sides to establish this lab. In general, our lab facilitates the collaborative exploration of scientific research and industrialization opportunities by integrating resources from both sides. Zhejiang University provides research ideas and insights, and China Mobile Zhejiang supports with data resources. Our researchers process the data to assist policymaking in 2 ways. One is to create a dashboard that dynamically presents data for monitoring and predicting. The other way is to use big data-driven approach to analyze and produce policy recommendation on a given social issue. We strictly follow the rules and the regulations of both parties during the collection, process, and maintenance of our data. We desensitize, encrypt, and limit the visibility of the source data to protect privacy and ensure security. In the early stage, we encountered difficulties such as vague responsibilities, lack of talents and funds, and huge communication costs that lead to inefficiency. But thanks to the joint efforts, almost everything is being solved now. Currently, the lab is supporting around 20 university faculty members with their research and helping China Mobile Zhejiang to form 3 commercialized products. Our platform, One Station Scientific Research website is now in operation. Besides, we organize weekly meetings to welcome scholars, government officials, and company representatives from different fields to share their experience and insights so as to benefit more and more people and enhance the inclusiveness of our platform. In the future, we will stick to our ambition and make full use of our data and intellectual resources to better serve the smart city initiatives and to promote high-quality development. Thank you.
大家好，今天非常高兴能有机会跟大家一起来分享通信运营商大数据与政府的公共数据合规融合这一话题。在城市的蓬勃发展当中，大数据已经成了时代的符号，为城市的建设注入了新的动能。随着智慧城市和数字城市的建设的兴起，大数据在多场景的下面的融合与应用存在着诸多的机遇与挑战。3月是高校毕业生求职的旺季，应届毕业生就业也是政府高度关注的重点民生问题。高校毕业生的真实的就业情况如何呢？这里有一份数据：2022年全省高校毕业生总人数达到了39万人，其中1/3处于失业状态。这个失业是打引号的失业，指的是实际从业的状态不明，他们是留下还是回乡？是准备创业还是考公考编？不知道。公共的数据仅知道学生的毕业信息，对于新就业的形态，公共数据是滞后的。所以大家往往觉得高校毕业生的就业数据无法完全反映真实的情况，进而影响相应的指导帮扶政策。那么运营商的数据是如何辅助解决这一问题的呢？采用手机信令的大数据，可以通过分析用户的行为习惯，基于大数据的模型，对新就业状态进行更好、更精确的刻画。公共数据和社会数据相互的补充验证，并且采用隐私计算的方式进行融合建模，通过场景落地闭环，直接实现就业政策和就业群体的精准对接，赋能城市治理的高水平发展。除了大学生就业这一场景之外，社会数据与公共数据的合规融合在智慧城市的建设中有极为广泛的应用场景。基于以人为本的大数据能力，通过个人数据的积累，达到对群体的研究和划分。融合公共大数据，最终对城市的各类经济生活做出有效的预测、判断、规划，洞悉各项活动的本质。例如，针对企业群体，根据他们的实际需求和发展计划，进行更加准确的、明晰的产业规划和指导；针对文旅游客，匹配他们的兴趣、需求，并且进行精准的营销投放；在公共交通领域，提供综合治理优化的解决方案等等。在更多的公共领域与社会数据融合应用场景，数据要素的价值呢日益凸显，势不可逆。当然，不可否认的是，即使在隐私计算技术的应用基础上面，双方数据的安全合规融合依然面临着非常多的困难。比如，主建模方拥有最终的建模结果，且不是简单的信息链的链接的场景。比如说，在医疗服务的设施提供方面，融合渠道在公共的服务提供方，但是群体却是在 运营商方存在着一定的融合壁垒。此时，我们需要更新我们的技术进行支撑，加强与更多的行业外脑、垂类龙头和多元素商进行深度的合作。在历史的经验的基础上，中国移动浙江创新研究院推行实施实践隐私计算等新技术的多场景融合应用，加强多方安全计算能力，实现数据隐秘流动、客观可控，将通信运营商的大数据与政府公共的数据呢进行合规融合应用，约束在场景下，为长期来做可信的合作关系呢，创新院与浙江大学进行了联合实验室的模式实践，设立了专业的研究团队、数据智能团队和公共智能团队，实现产学研联动的应用落地闭环。未来，创新研究院将始终致力于大数据产业的可持续健康发展，加快推进实施隐私计算等新技术的多场景的融合应用，期待与更多生态合作伙伴相互助力、共享发展，推进数据要素发挥更大的价值，让大数据的参与者人人获益，激发城市未来的活力。谢谢大家。
Very good morning, colleagues. My name is Sandy Lembata. I'm from eThekwini Municipality. I'm responsible for data research and policy advocacy. eThekwini is a city of 4 million people. It's located in the eastern seaboard of South Africa. Like many cities in the developing world, eThekwini is faced with many challenges in service delivery, inequalities, resource scarcity. One of the things that we've recognized is that a lot of decisions that we've been making in the past have always been based on instincts and political sentiments. We have then shifted the focus now to say we need to center data as our critical infrastructure to assist us in making decisions, to assist us in localization, implementation, and monitoring of the new urban agenda and the SDGs going forward. So we started a process of integrating city-level data that culminated to what you see in front of you, which is a strategic hub. It's a city's single source of truth that allows all the officials, the government officials, the public, private sector entities, civil society organizations to be able to see data and insights that's coming out of the city, and particularly related to service delivery. We've used this dashboard, this tool for reporting on disaster and flooding disaster that we've had in the past couple of months. We are able to get deeper into understanding urban safety issues or road safety issues. I'm going to show you very briefly some of the sort of dashboards that we've created that are allowing us to make decisions that are insight driven. It allows us to make decisions that are informed by what's happening on the ground. For instance, the dashboard you see in front of you is what we call a eThekwini road crashes dashboard. So it gives us an insight in terms of what's going on with regards to road safety. So as a result of this, we've been able to make decisions on how much we should invest in road safety measures in the municipality, and we assist all various departments. So at the beginning of the process of getting to where we are with the strategic hub, we engaged with a lot of internal and external stakeholders. Some of the key challenges that we were facing was that a lot of the internal stakeholders felt uncomfortable sharing the data, but also felt that there was an overload in terms of the requests that were being made to say, please share the data with us so that we can integrate city level data. What we then started doing is to work with each line function or service delivery unit to assist them to expedite their reporting and to ensure that we use these dashboards not just to provide insight to the strategic level and also to our stakeholders, but also to allow the line functions themselves to be able to report and to check their own processes internally. And we've been able to do this working with with various stakeholders, but also we've brought in private sector entities to try and support us in terms of understanding the technology that is there, and also we've brought in the political leadership so that they are part and parcel of the decision-making process. The dashboard you see in front of you is what we call eThekwini ward profiles. It's allowing ward councillors to be able to know what's going on in their ward, to understand the demographics, understand the unemployment issues. We find that these dashboards have really been helpful in getting political leadership to buy into our own processes and to understand the communities they are serving. So there's been various sort of improvements that we've already seen with regards to using data to inform our decision-making processes. So, but there's obviously been a lot of challenges in terms of the appetite to invest in some of the tools and digital tools in particular that we need in order to be able to build very solid data systems and data portals like this one. And however, we are making slow progress in making sure that we get to a point where there's investment. The city is able to make investment to these tools. And there's a number of tools that we've put into the strategic hub, but some of them include open data, open spatial data as well that citizens can be able to see. The Green Book Metro View is one of the sort of modeling exercises that we've done to allow us to be able to anticipate what's going to happen in the future. So this is a tool that is really pushing us to think much more creatively and innovatively on how we're using data as a critical infrastructure in eThekwini. So thank you so much, colleagues, for listening to this presentation, and I hope you have a fantastic discussions and deliberations around the processes that relate to data and how data is supporting sustainable development in cities. Thank you so much.
I just want to flag for the session organizers that the audio is cut off. Thank you all for your patience. We have alerted the organizers, so we're hoping to get the audio issue resolved shortly. Okay, this is the fourth and final case study from Jordan. It appears that we're having issues with the audio, so just give us one moment. Thank you all for your patience. Okay, so it appears that we will have some difficulty playing the last case study. It was an example of how one might use GIS data to identify areas that were not serviced by public roads. So it was a way to be able to use primarily geospatial data to identify areas that were underserved. And so it's a really great project tied to a specific SDG target. And there were collaborations with the Ministry of Public Works. It's really a fascinating case study. So it's unfortunate that we're
On
not
both
able to
sides. Zhejiang
showcase it.
University provides research ideas and insights, and China Mobile Zhejiang supports.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and jump to Q&A. Thank you all for your patience. I think we do our best with live online events, but technical difficulties are sometimes unavoidable. So thank you all for your patience. You all mentioned earlier that the audio was quite low, so I'll do a brief recap of the case studies that were featured. So we started off with Dr. Weiwen Zhang and Dr. Jensen Tang, and they talked about a partnership between Zhejiang University and China Mobile Zhejiang that focused on big data for decision making, specifically mobile phone data for decision making. And one of the case studies featured involved getting a more accurate assessment of youth unemployment using both public data from the government and some of the behavior analytics from mobile phone data. And there were other potential applications for this type of partnership to address challenges with tourism and public transportation at the city level. So really fascinating project between a private sector and a university partner. And our second case study was from eThekwini Municipality, and that was the strategic hub. And that involved collecting data to produce a dashboard to showcase urban safety issues. So for that specific case study, we looked at real-time data for road safety. So how can access to that kind of data inform transportation decisions at the city level? And so this involved partnerships with the private sector and with a host of political leaders. So really fascinating case study about how one can collect real-time data and engage decision makers to build something like a live dashboard that is made publicly available. And so I want to thank our contributors for those two case studies. And the final case study that we didn't get a chance to see showcased here focused on using geospatial data to identify areas that were underserved, where there were not roads within a certain proximity. And so this project helped to identify unserved areas and could potentially inform the Ministry of Public Works decision to build roads to reach populations that were marginalized. And that was in alignment with SDG 9. So really great projects that focused on how one can use data to address a specific urban challenge. And in all of the projects featured, there was some partnership component. So whether that be a private sector partnership, like in the case with China Mobile Zhejiang, or with government partnerships, as in the case with the strategic hub. So with that, I want to turn it over to the audience. If you have any questions about some of the projects featured, we welcome any questions that you may have. And Dr. Zhang is online from Zhejiang University, and so I'll invite her to add in as she sees fit to any questions that are asked. And I was notified that all of our panelists are online, and so I will invite Alam, if you are comfortable, to unmute if you would so like to share with us the project that you featured for Jordan, as we were not able to play the video. Okay, I don't know if she heard. So I have some preset questions that I'll throw to our panelists since they our case study contributors since they're here online. We'll start with Professor Weiwen Zhang.
I am Ahlam Al-Rusan, IT Director at Department of Statistics in Jordan. I am happy to share with you our experience of using big data and data science to advance sustainable development goals and support decision makers by focusing on one of these indicators. In my presentation, I will touch on the following topics: what SDG 9.1.1 and how it helps support decision makers, what the data that we used and what the data sources, our partners with whom we have cooperated, the results we achieved and what the future plan, the dynamic dashboard we developed during this project. Finally, I'll touch on the challenges, opportunities, and lessons we learned. The Sustainable Development Goals consist of 17 goals, each with specific targets and indicators that covers a range of social, economic, and environmental issues. They provide a framework for decision makers to prioritize their efforts towards sustainable development. SDG 9.1.1 is the proportion of the rural population who live within 2 kilometers of an all-season roads. It's called also Road Access Index and coded by RAI. Decision makers can use SDG 9.1.1 to guide their efforts in building smart cities by focusing on developing quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure with a focus on affordable and equitable access for all. For developing this indicator, there is a different type of data required, such as data of population in Jordan, data and geodatabase about road conditions, road networks, and road layers, in addition of necessary of using satellite images to show where the people live. But in reality, it wasn't easy to have the old data we need. We use data from census of population and household that we implemented in Jordan in 2015, which covering all of Jordan areas in different formats such as shapefile and raster. We also use data from roads layers, localities layers, landmark layers, and building layers. Also, we use satellite images and OpenStreetMap to determine the population distribution and population density. To obtain this data, we cooperated with some of ministries and stakeholders, such as the Ministry of Public Work, the Ministry of Local Administration, and the Central Traffic Department, with support from the World Bank and United Nations. After collecting this data, we determined the rural areas, which is included the localities that have 5,000 or less of population. This definition is up on the census 2015 in Jordan. To determine the served areas, we use ArcGIS tools. But let me here first explain what served areas means. It means that the area which is not far from all services, more than 2 kilometers, and it's easy for access in all season. We made the buffering of the roads within 2 kilometers, and we can see in this slide that the shaded areas represented the 2 kilometers areas around the street that include served areas, while the unshaded areas represented the unserved areas. We found that the proportion of the rural population is 10%, while the urban population is 90% of the total Jordan population. By calculating the Rural Access Index, we found that the served areas is around 63.8% of the whole rural population, while the unserved areas is 36.2%. So these areas, unserved areas, need more attention and recovering from the decision makers and government. Here I want to show you the dynamic and interactive platform that we developed by using ArcGIS for computing the Rural Access Index for each government in Jordan. The project not to stop here because the value that we calculate it regardless of the road conditions because this data is not easy to obtain. So now we are in process to enhance the cooperation with Ministry of Public Works to have the data of road conditions. We can see in this slide the two projects that are implementing in parallel, one in Department of Statistics and other in Ministry of Public Works, and supported by United Nations and World Bank. These two projects have the same targets of promoting infrastructure which should be accessible and affordable to all. So the next step is to unify the projects to reduce the cost and effort and the time to achieve the same target and get the data of road conditions. This is help decision makers to focus on these areas. This experience learned us some of valuable lessons, such as the necessity of cooperation between statistical office and other ministries, such as a Ministry of Public Works, taking benefit from support of the UN and World Bank, avoiding duplicating effort and cost, and how much it's important to use the open source tools and open source data. But indeed, we faced some of challenges during this project, such as the lack of enough data. As I mentioned, the road conditions wasn't easy to obtain, the lack of consistent data in all ministries, the problem of resolution with OpenStreetMap, and the fact that the information needs many calculations and time. However, we also encountered some of opportunities such as the high interest and support from the government on SDGs, the high support from NGOs, and the huge data that we have from the censuses and surveys. And also, it's very important to focus on new technology like data science, machine learning, and open source data and tools. Thank you for your attention.
All right. And so that is the full set of case studies. As I mentioned, all of our contributors are online. So Weiwen Zhang, Jinseng Teng, Sandil Mbata, and Alam Rusan. I want to thank everyone. And so I welcome questions that you might have about those specific smart city data innovations. Please post any questions in the chat. So we have one question directed at Weiwen Zhang. And so I'll go ahead and read the question aloud, and Weiwen, I'll invite you to answer directly. You mentioned early difficulties when establishing the collaboration with China Mobile. As it took 2 years to establish, are there lessons for other academic institutions that are looking to create similar partnerships? Would you do anything differently? And so Dr. Zhang, please.
Okay. Now it's work. Yeah, thanks for the question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I do have some points to share with you based on our experience. So firstly, insist on regular communication. The operation and logical of universities and enterprises are different. And the paradigms of thinking and the research methods of different disciplines within university are also not the same. So the integration of multiple research fields and disciplines is both an opportunity and a challenge. We have insisted on holding weekly seminars during these 2 years to deepen understanding, to learn from each other in order to accelerate high quality research exploration. Secondly, stick to the principle of win-win. We always consider each other's needs and our common goals all the time during our cooperation process. For example, in the meanwhile, we're thinking about how to publish high quality papers. We also take into account China Mobile's business scenarios, continuously explore useful research methods and upgrade analytical models for the promotion into productive force. Another key lesson is to build the theoretical framework initially, which can boost efficiency. Normally, literature review is the first step in scientific research, and it can quickly advance efficiency. This can be applied to business scenarios as well, where the overall framework of the project is built first, and this is very important. Then the tasks can be broken down to ensure efficiency and promotion. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for elaborating. I suppose I'll ask just one quick follow-up question for you, Dr. Zhang. Did you work with the government in any capacity for this project, or was it primarily a private sector university partnership?
Conducted exchanges with the government of Zhejiang province in the sharing and cooperation of data. Our outcome has been recognized and encouraged by the government, and that is quite crucial for us. Otherwise, the lab cannot be carried out smoothly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And naturally, I would think to ask a question of Dr. Tang, who's also online, to get the China Mobile perspective. I'm curious, Dr. Tang, if you could illuminate for us, why did you choose to partner with Zhejiang University for this big data project?
I'm sorry, Dr. Tang has a meeting conflict, so he's not available this time.
Okay, thank you. Then my next question will be for Sandil, as I believe you're online as well. Can you enlighten us as to how often the data is updated for the strategic hub? And what are the multiple sources of data that you use as well? That would be wonderful to know. Okay, I'll move on then to Alam. And so final question for the session. Are there plans to use a similar approach to monitor other SDG indicators?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you. Good morning, good afternoon,
Good
and good
morning.
evening.
Good morning. Yes, of course. We actually did decision makers for this strategy. For example, we're looking forward now to complete this SDG 9.1.1 and also focus on similar target SDG 11. In addition of focusing on SDG that related to poverty. There is some challenges, but we're looking forward to have this cooperation with all of ministries to make consistency of data and collect the data that related to these SDGs to develop these goals and indicators.
Thank you. And as a quick
Thank you.
follow-up, you mentioned that there were challenges with deferring data quality with the various sort of data that were involved. Can you describe a bit how you overcame the challenge of deferring quality in different ministries?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yes, as I mentioned, the unify of strategy for all ministries. Uh,
Okay.
One of
Alam, we're having some trouble hearing you. The network connection seems to be a bit unstable. And so would you mind reattempting the response? Okay. In light of time, I want to be mindful. We could also invite you to write a response in the chat. And we'll want to make sure to stay on schedule. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this session on data innovations and multi-stakeholder collaborations. This was a rapid snapshot of various case studies from across the globe, showcasing innovative partnerships between private sector entities and universities, and a host of other types of collaborations for using data at the city level for more informed decision-making. And so we saw examples of interactive and real-time dashboards, amongst other use cases that could be used to make better decisions, to improve road safety, to improve road access, to get a better understanding of what unemployment looks like for the youth demographic in a city. So there are various applications of data for decision making, and it can help to address a host of urban challenges. And so we hope this served as a teaser for what some of the possibilities are. And if you remain interested in any of the case studies that were featured, we invite you to follow our speakers more closely, as they're the ones sort of working on the ground on these various projects, whether in Zhejiang, in South Africa, or in Jordan. So thank you all for your availability, and thank you for your patience. We know the technical difficulties may have made it challenging, but you all persisted. And I'm really excited to see that people are enthusiastic about the prospects of data for smart city governance. So with that, I'm going to close. Again, this was co-organized by SDSN TReNDS and Zhejiang University. We want to thank our partners. We want to thank our contributors, and we hope that the conversation will continue offline. Thank you, and have a great morning, afternoon, or evening.